Whenever there's a named trash mob in a dungeon, sometimes they live in infamy. This is no shadow of Zool, but honestly I do think it's one of the hardest pieces of trash in the entire game, mechanically. This guy has mechanics that are very dangerous, far more than anything I've seen on any trash. But today I'm going to show you how to negate all three of them in one fell swoop. Now before we start, I should say this is actually possible to skip this guy. It doesn't look like it is, but I've been told that if you stand kind of right on the edge of the dais that you're supposed to click to go up, you won't be close enough to aggro him, and you'll be close enough to click the dais, even though it might not look like you are, and it will take you up without aggroing him. But I'm not skipping him. I think he's a really good count. Why not, right? Because I'm going to show you exactly how to take all of his mechanics out of the fight. I have a great recording of what I think to be the perfect pull of this guy. So let's just watch it and then we'll break it down. Okay, still got a lot of health even on Tyrannical though. It seems kind of strange. Blizzard actually gives you the perfect opportunity to negate all three of its mechanics. And that's it. He only has three, but all three of them can cause a lot of problems if you don't know how best to handle them. Now, I think a lot of people did this dungeon in different ways when they did this the first time. Especially on Zero, you probably just went and did all the bosses first, and then you came up here and dealt with the trash. First time you might come here, you might see the boss kind of knocking you around and creating a lot of area denial, and you have trash on all sides, and it gets really dangerous. Well, I'm doing this route where we're going in a straight line across the back here, and we're completely taking that out of the picture here. And we're doing that simply by tanking him where I'm tanking him. That's really all there is to it. It's going to help negate all three of the mechanics, two of which without really any input from you. So the first thing you might do is the shock mines. Okay, so this mechanic is actually insanely dangerous. If anybody gets hit by one of these, they're going to be in serious trouble. But because we're tanking him in this corner, he seems to prefer to be putting them somewhat far away from you. Now, when I did this early in the season, it seemed like it was a little bit more random. And I'm thinking maybe the longer you fight him, the more likely he will be to place them near your group. But ever since I started tanking him in this corner, he starts putting them in very good areas that are just far enough away that nobody has to deal with anything. I presume the mechanic was meant to be difficult for the people being connected, because I assume Blizzard expected you to have to actually deal with the connection mechanic properly, or you'd be running all around and kind of fighting it and maybe accidentally running into the mines. But when we're tanking him here, there's only one place he can put it, and it's on the outside of this area here. You see over here. So he's going to put them on the outside, kind of by the stairs here, but because the entire fight is going to take place in this basically like 15-yard area, those are completely out of the way. Also, because we have him against the corner here, he can't possibly put them in the wall, so they're all going to pile up there. So just in case something does go wrong, it'd be very easy to clear them with a single immunity from either something like Hunter or Paladin. They do a lot of damage though, so probably don't clear them as a Blood Death Knight with AMS. But on the screen, you're going to see the two other mechanics he does. Let's first talk about the power kick. He's going to do this mechanic on the tank constantly, and all the trash that looks like him in this area is also going to do it. This is actually the tailor-made area to deal with this mechanic. You see there's like this little L shape right next to this little, what looks to be purely decorative element of the dungeon. Well, this has actually got a little bit of collision on it. So no matter what, place my back in this kind of shape here, he'll move me, but I'll bounce maybe 1 yard up in the air at max, and I won't move whatsoever. And you know, especially if you fight the other trash in the area I normally do, you could place your back to a wall, but the mobs kind of move around a bit, and they might kind of get to your side a bit, and they might kick you to the right or might kick you to the left. And especially now as a Blood DK, getting kicked out of range could be a very bad global for you. So for this guy being so dangerous, it's really important to keep him perfectly stationary in this specific spot. You're back to this L shape, and he will never kick you like this. And you see I barely move it out. Now you can also parry this, so it's extremely common that that's going to happen. It's a Blood DK nowadays, and if you parry it, you just actually don't move anywhere. But you see I'm kind of just getting bounced maybe like 1 yard up in the air, barely moving at all, never leaving his melee range. So the other mechanic that you really need to be aware of is called Lethal Force, and it's what's really dangerous about this guy. All the other mechanics, like the shock mines and everything else we're talking about, those are dangerous for different reasons, but it's always centered around this mechanic, the Lethal Force. It's meant to be displacing you, it's meant to be making your life miserable, and it's meant to be putting you in frustration frustrating situations with your group mate where one or the other might not be upholding their bargain of dealing with the mechanic properly. The way it works is just stay away from the person you're linked to, but it's not going to make it too easy on you. It's trying to pull you together. If you get too close to your linked ally, you'll take a massive dot. Here is how you completely remove it from the mechanic. Here it comes right here, and you see the two players have it are on the opposite side of what looks to be a purely decorative element of the dungeon. However, as I said, this has full collision. And you see these players are able to simply let it pull them against this structure and not ever get anywhere close enough. So this round structure here is perfect. And the hunter, he's able to fully cast. He's not being pulled out of his cast because he's resting against the structure. So even though it's pulling the two players together, both of them are able to do full DPS. And that's crucial because if you're constantly fighting this, you have two ranged constantly fighting this, that turns the fight into a much longer one. But here, they're able to fully DPS. And even from the other side, I believe melee can still attack as well. So even if you have all melee, it's still perfectly possible to stand there and do full DPS. Now that's when you use this outer ring, but watch, there's an even better way to do it. And this for sure would allow melee DPS to attack. So here it is again. Now you see the two players are kind of getting pulled, maybe because of the angle of the structure, kind of getting pulled towards the front of it. At first glance, you might think, well, if they get pulled any closer, maybe that's too close. But nope, as you'll see, they get pulled as close as the structure would allow, standing right next to it on the thinnest element of the structure, and they still do not have the debuff. They still have not failed the mechanic. However, in this perfect footage, we also see the ability to fail the mechanic the same way. The two players just get the mechanic a second time, and they just saw how easy it was to do it. So now when they get pulled together, they're going to let it happen as they may, but for some reason, somebody gets pulled up on top of the element, and that does ultimately connect them and gives them the debuff. But the question is, how did that happen? I don't know for sure. I assume maybe one of the players accidentally moved forward, and he kind of ran up on top of the thing because we just saw it work no problem, where he was just sitting there doing his full rotation, and it wasn't pulling him up. But regardless, be careful. I think the best choice is simply use the wider area here, but just in case the other side of that is not actually close enough for melee DPS to still auto attack, one person can use the wide part and the other melee DPS could be on the inside of the skinny part, and they'd still be able to do their full rotation without any issues. And the final one that goes out is another perfect example of what not to do in this situation. They have the ability to stand still and do full DPS, but because they just accidentally failed it, they're a little timid. See, now he's worried about potentially getting pulled over that corner as well. So instead of simply doing his full rotation, he's just going to be running the whole time and just potentially losing all that DPS there. Now, I think that's the healer, but regardless, don't be scared of it. Very simple to do. And because of the way he organizes all the other mechanics, this is an incredibly safe space. He's never going to put a bomb directly underneath you. It seems like he's almost getting kind of blocked off by this. This is not line of sight either, like we hopefully have made clear. You can do your full rotation from either side. And if for some reason you want to tank him on the opposite side, there is a perfect mirror of this on the other side as well. You can tank him over there as well and do the exact same thing. But it's crucial because this mechanic really slows you down. It potentially runs you into your death. And of course, if you fail it multiple times, the healer might not be able to catch up, or it might just go on the healer a lot as well. So I hope that helped. It's not very common that Blizzard literally gives you the exact solution you need to all three of a boss's dangerous mechanics. I don't know if it's intended. Maybe it won't stay that way in the future, like season 4 or something like that. They might make this line of sight. That would probably be the easiest solution from Blizzard if they didn't want people to do this anymore. At least then it would be a little bit more like, okay, you can still use the mechanic, but you are trading DPS to do it. But as of right now, completely free. So hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you guys have any questions about it, and we will see you guys in the next one.